Gentlemen, I would like to share with you 7 harsh truths that would have saved me a lot of trouble if I would have known them sooner. So throughout middle and high school, I had a very close friend that we will call Thomas. And one day in high school, Thomas came to my house and he was like, bro, this is gonna be a guy's night. We're gonna have so much fun together. I'm super excited. We're gonna do this and this and this. And I was excited for this because Thomas had a lot of other friends. So the fact that he was coming over and wanting to do all this stuff with me, I was hyped. And the first order of business was that we were going to go to the high school and play basketball for a little bit on the outside hoops. And about 15 minutes into just shooting around, some of Thomas's other older, more cool friends pulled up. And they're like, Thomas, we would really like if we could drive around in your golf cart for a bit, because he had a golf cart at his house nearby. So Thomas turns to me and says, hey, we're just gonna go do this real quick. I'll be right back. And I was like, for sure. There was other people there. So I just stayed shooting around with these other guys. And then an hour passed, 2 hours passed, 3, everyone else left. It was nightfall, and it was just me stuck in the high school parking lot. Thomas stopped replying to my text. I could see his house in the distance, and he wasn't there. And eventually, I had to ask one of my friends to get their dad to come pick me up and take me home. And for a decent amount of our friendship, Thomas has been like this, but this was definitely his most egregious offense. So you know what I did? Nothing. I kept being friends with him, hung out with them a few days later, because throughout my teenage years, I tend to put people on a pedestal. I viewed them very highly, their opinions of me, things they think I should do, and the relationship I'm trying to form with them, I overvalued a ton. And it would have saved me so much time, mental energy, and honestly, I would have stood up for myself after Thomas f***ed me over like that if I would have understood the first lesson, which is people suck. Now, don't get me wrong, most people are nice, they don't mean harm to anyone else, but they suck. You're fucking bad, kid. You're dog water. Get good. The majority of people are trapped in jobs that they hate, constantly chasing an escape through the cheap pleasures of video games, TV shows, pornography. So if most people suck, why do we value their opinions and guidance so heavily? Why is it that in high school, during our graduation announcement college ceremony thing, did I tell everyone that I'm gonna go study biology and become a physical therapist at this school when I knew that my dream for my entire life essentially was to become a content creator? And then I went out, took out a student loan, started getting my basics at community college because I was afraid of extremely average people judging me the same way they judged all the other people that didn't announce what college they were going to, that just went straight into a workforce. People's lives suck because their habits suck because their mind sucks and they're not doing anything about it. You know, if your parents suck, why would you follow their advice on what school to go to, what type of person to date, what type of job to get? Because last time I checked, you're watching me, a self-improvement channel. We don't want to suck. We also want to be sure that we never completely depend on someone and just expect the absolute best out of them every single time because they're human, because eventually they will falter. But don't get an ego from that, because the second lesson is that we're kind of dumb. Now, I'm not saying you're actually an idiot. After all, you're choosing to watch an educational video over some of the most cheap and easy dopamine on the internet. But a huge shift in my journey and what really helped me push forwards in my self-development was understanding that I don't know shit. Sure, I know some shit, but in the vast ocean of shit, I only know a bucket of shit. Now, don't get me wrong, at first, especially when I started pursuing this channel as a vlog channel back in the day, being overly sure of myself actually benefited me because it got me to continue taking action. Because I would watch some of the other fitness vlogs, you know, these Gymshark athlete guys, and I would think to myself, I can make better videos than that. Fuck them. Of course, ignoring all other factors of their success, like they're infinitely bigger and stronger than me. The confidence did kind of help me in the beginning because it helped me really believe the goal despite all the insecurities and bad self-beliefs I had about myself. But the thing about our brains is they typically want to keep us right where we're at because it protects our current ego. The ego that thinks it knows everything and doesn't want to be challenged by new information. And this actually kept me stuck in my progress on YouTube for the longest time because I wasn't trying anything new. I wasn't learning anything. Hell, I kept my old pirated version of my editing software for years instead of upgrading to the actual version. I needed to shift away from the fixed mindset of an NPC to a student mindset or a growth mindset. And as soon as I actually did that and started investing in myself, learning new things, realizing I need to learn a lot of new shit because I don't know shit, my personal growth, my channel growth, everything started to exponentially grow. Now, obviously, it is extremely beneficial to navigate life with authentic confidence, but you want that confidence to be from having an actual identity of someone who is continuing to improve, who's continuing to try things, versus a fake confidence of someone who thinks they have it all figured out, you know, this persona from the ego. But because my brain loves taking in information a little more than applying it, I have to remember that this is a cycle of learning something, applying something, learning something, applying something. Because otherwise you're just coping, thinking you're learning a fuck ton, when in reality you have paralysis by analysis, and you're going to remain mediocre. And if you want to learn my exact protocol for achieving authentic confidence, focus, discipline, and just complete mental control, you can check out Mental Mastery in the description below. And when you are pursuing something, keep in mind lesson number 3, which is luck doesn't exist for you. There are currently people doing better than you who put much less effort than you will have to put to get there. There's also people succeeding in things that had a very low probability of them doing it. They hit the jackpot per se. Just go ahead and assume the thing you want to pursue is going to take 10 times the effort than you originally thought. For me, making videos that consistently get 100,000 views is 10 times as hard as I thought it would be, and I still haven't mastered it, obviously. And yet still, getting where I currently am at in my self-development, in my career, took infinitely more effort than I thought it would. So the mindset that has helped me immensely is thinking, I'm not going to get lucky, therefore my effort, my inputs must be undeniable. I switched my perspective of luck into probability. Sure, that guy got lucky. He had a 5% probability of getting rich, of getting the deal, of winning the jackpot, whatever, and he got it. I have to assume that that won't happen to me, that I am the 95%, and thus I need to continuously raise my probability percentage of the thing I want happening until it gets close to 100%. That is undeniable. There's a quote I really like from the book Millionaire Fastlane, is that process creates events that others view as luck, therefore luck is a product of process. And to increase luck, engage in activities that move probability from nothing to something. So assume things are going to be harder, are going to take more effort, but you know that if you just keep raising the probability, you can still get it. And occasionally, yes, something will just work, you will get lucky, and just be grateful for that. But don't expect it. Plus, bro, the fact that you're watching this on some form of technology shows that you and I are already plenty lucky. At the end of the day, chalking up something to good or bad luck is just an excuse, which leads me to number 4. There is no valid excuse. An excuse is an attempt to lessen the blame on yourself. I'm not just saying that, that is literally the definition of excuse. But unfortunately, our brains generate countless justifications for the things that we do, even if they're not good. Think about it, every habit you've had or action you've done that you look back and think, that was pretty bad, at the time, your brain had some form of justification for doing it, even if it was a shitty excuse. And occasionally the justifications are fair, but honestly, the majority of the time, especially when we do something that's just a cheap pleasure, the excuse was complete make-believe. I really needed to touch my wee-wee because I was stressed. Well, there's hundreds of more beneficial things you could have done to relieve stress, and most likely the stress was from the urge to touch your wee-wee. My business would have worked if it wasn't for the recession. Well, you could have learned how to run a business during a recession to maintain success. I can't attract people because I have a negative canthal tilt, and I have prey eyes, and I have acne. Well, there's tons of other stats you can max out to make yourself an interesting and attractive person. Excuses are the nails used to build the house of failure. Jim Rohn. We should strive to take complete responsibility of our actions regardless of external factors, because life and people do not give a fuck about your excuse. Oh, it's okay, sweetie. Yeah, no, if that would have happened, things would have been good, but you know, it's not your fault. You want to suck on mama titty? Lesson number 5 is that the past and future literally don't exist. Most people's brains tend to be in the default mode network the majority of their life. And most of the time, the DMN bombards consciousness with either memories of the past or predictions of the future, which isn't inherently bad. Obviously, it's good to have fond memories. Obviously, it's good to plan for the future. But what we find is that's typically not what's going on. What usually happens is dwelling on the past, which leads to grief and feeling depressed, or stressing about the future, which leads to anxiety. And this is extremely harmful because most people are just unconscious NPCs. Unconscious meaning they are not aware of what's going on in their mind, and thus they're having these emotional ups and downs, all this stress and anxiety and depression based on things that aren't even real. They are thoughts appearing in their mind that will subside. If you're thinking about the future consciously, you're planning. If you're thinking about the past consciously, you're trying to learn something. But the issue comes is when these things pop into mind, you're not really conscious of it, you're not observing it, you're identifying with it. And your body and brain is going to react as if that bad memory that makes you sad is happening right now, and it'll make you sad. That complete imagination of the future that stresses you out is happening right now. It's going to stress you out. Now, this one is honestly much easier to explain than actually implement because your brain defaults to this mode of thinking. We're not consciously observing everything all the time. We're pretty unconscious in autopilot the majority of our day. But the best thing that I have done to strengthen the mind and take back control over the default mode network is meditation. Meditation is scientifically proven to lessen the activity of the DMN and improve the ability of things like the task positive network. It also builds your skill of detaching from thoughts and just letting them pass, compared to constant identification, which will lead you to mental turmoil. And if you want to try the exact form of meditation that I'm talking about, I have a free 5-day guided meditation series in the description below, guided by me. Speaking of emotions, we have lesson number 6, which may upset some people. You shouldn't be happy. Personally, I think happiness has too many definitions and has been so misconstrued that I don't even like talking about it. For example, some guys would say, well, I'm happy with my Cheetos and my video games and my Auto Blow 3000. And others would argue, that's not true happiness, that's pleasure, that's dopamine. What tends to happen is we got fed this idea that we need to be happy all the time, which makes us misconstrue things that are self-destructive for self-care. In our lives, there's gonna be plenty of moments where there is actually a void of happiness. And instead of instantly trying to think, how can I fix this? How can I get the happiness? We need to observe it. We need to see it as a signal. It is our brain, our body letting us know that something is wrong. My mindset is that I don't need to be happy all the time. Yeah, woohoo. I need to be grateful, which is honestly the key to positivity overall, and determined that even if I feel bad, I'm gonna keep going. And finally, lesson number 7 that I saved for last because this is my favorite idea out of all of them. You are not the version of yourself required to achieve your goal. We often want to chase some result right away, get it as quick as possible, and that's actually the worst method of doing it. In my self-development journey, this was one of the biggest shifts mentally that helped me so much, was that instead of thinking, I want to get this, I want this to happen, I want this to happen, I had to realize the current version of myself literally can't make these things happen. I actually still have my journal entry when this realization took place, and essentially what I realized was the current version of myself was still watching porn, still sleeping in a decent amount of days of the week, and I realized that the version of myself required to succeed on YouTube, succeed in business, to help the amount of people I want to help, doesn't do those things. The fact that I was doing those things showed that I'm not that person, and therefore those goals will not happen. A great example of this is when I was in a mental mastery call with one of my students, James. And what James currently wants more than anything else is to make $10,000 a month working online. And he came to me and told me how his biggest struggle is that he watches too much YouTube videos. He is addicted to YouTube and it's hindering his ability to reach his goal.
Because whenever I try and work on something, I'll lose the motivation, I'll get bored, and then there's a trigger on Google. No matter what I do, I'll go on YouTube and then I'll just waste time.
And I was telling him in order to fix his YouTube addiction, because it's a dopamine addiction, you need to undergo a pretty strict monk mode protocol for a decent period of time. And his argument was, well, I need my computer, I need to be online because I need to do my online learning so I can make $10,000 a month.
If you visualize yourself making $10,000 a month, and we'll say it's 8 months from now, 6 months from now, when you visualize it, it wouldn't make sense if you visualize it and you see yourself as you are currently. That doesn't make sense.
I was like, no, of course not. I was like, but you think that you can maintain this current version of yourself and try to get there. That makes no sense. You're gonna fail. He'll get on, try to work on his little money thing. Oh, YouTube tab, Mr. Beast. He realized he had to take a step back because this straightforward path he thought existed doesn't. He has to take the long path of fixing himself, becoming the higher version, and then he can go and make $10,000 a month online. And I'm sure there are many of you watching that are currently in a similar situation to James. You have this goal, this desire, this thing you want to achieve, or something you want to escape from, and you're trying to skip steps. You're trying to get straight on the path to the thing, when in reality, that shortcut is a mirage that leads you into a bottomless pit, a trap. So for the dedicated few that are still watching this video right now, I want you to take note of what is the thing you actually want to achieve, and what is the version of yourself that would achieve it. And then notice the gap between you currently and that version of yourself, and that is the path. Work on closing that gap as the vehicle to get to that goal. And if you want to become that version of yourself as fast as possible, that's why I created Mental Mastery, link in the description. If you want to learn 5 more lessons that I stole from millionaires, you can click this video right here where I break down 5 hidden traits that got them the success they got. Yeah, that's it. Bye-bye.